Hi there. In this Linux command line video series, today we'll learn about how to use Nproc command and other alternatives to find out number of CPUs on a Linux system. When you're writing shell scripts or if you're running any commands on Linux, many a times you want to know how many CPUs are there. You want to use a command to get the number of CPUs and use them as command line arguments or any other parameters for running your commands so you can parallelize various processes on your system. So if you want to find out number of CPUs on a Linux system, the standard way to do that is by using a command called nproc. As you can see that nproc just returns the number of CPUs detected on my system. It shows 12. That indicates there are 12 CPUs on my system. By the way, this includes the number of hyperthreads in a core also. All of them are considered as individual processors on Linux. In case you don't have nproc command available on your Linux system, maybe because it's a very old distribution that you're using or a very heavily customized embedded platform which does not have your standard user land availability, but you have a very basic shell and you just want to find out how many CPUs are there, there are different strategies that you can use. One such strategy would be looking up the file /proc/cpu info. This file exists on all Linuxes. Procfs is a pseudo file system that exposes various core kernel statistics and features onto user land in a file based abstraction. So the CPU info file is just a mere abstraction of CPU details detected on my system. I'm going to use less pager because there'll be more details being printed. As you can see here, it prints a lot of details related to the CPU. It says process 0, vendor ID, genuine Intel, and all these details. This is on a typical laptop running on a Intel-based architecture. So you can see there are records being printed for each CPU. So one of the ways you can find out the number of processors is by using the standard Unix utility grep processor /proc/cpu info. This will just extract the line that says processor. Now you could use pipe wc minus you could use pipe wc minus l. So when you use wc minus l, you're just going to count number of lines from the standard input or from this pipeline, so you can get the same answer 12. I have seen in certain platforms the word processor might occur in many places, and sometimes the word might not be called processor. It might be a processor with a capital P, or it may be simply mentioned as CPU. There are some legacy CPU architectures where this kind of formats exist. So the format of the file /proc CPU info is not really standardized. But if you're working on a modern Linux environment, Linux with a recent kernel, you could actually also gather the same details by looking up this particular folder /sys/devices/system/CPU. Under this folder, you get all the CPU related details. Remember, sysfs is also a pseudo file system, pretty much like procfs, just that sysfs hosts more of hardware platform related details, right? Plus, there are various other subfolders in sysfs that acts as a mount point for other pseudo file systems. We'll talk about sysfs maybe in the future video when I have time, but then for now, let's look at this particular file. If you look at all these CPU related details are shown off with CPU with a number. So if you can just use wildcard expansion, that should suffice. All I'm going to do now is just type echo /sys devices system CPU and just type CPU followed by a number, a digit, numerical digit, followed by anything else. Because you could have double digit numbers like you have CPU 10, CPU 11. I'm going to ignore the second parameter onwards. So any word that starts with CPU with a number is very likely going to represent CPU details. And when you just run this command, it just expands to all the files or folders matching this wildcard or the shell globbing syntax that I used there. Now you can actually pipe this out to wc minus w to get to know how many CPUs are there. You can see you got the same answer, 12. Now, in case you don't have the nproc command available on your Linux environment and you want to just provide a quick workaround, you can put this whole code or this command line into a macro or a shell function. You can actually do so by just creating a shell function, which would be, I'll just call this as ncpu this time. By the way, I'm using the bone shell syntax, right? So if you're using CSH or TCSH, this will not work. So you might want to create aliases there or put them in a shell script and source it. Okay, so I'll just use ncpu and repeat the same command in here. So let's say slash devices slash system slash CPU 0 to 9 5wc minus w, and that will do. Just close this, and you have your own macro ready. That works pretty much like Nproc. So you have multiple ways to solve a problem in shell, and this is how you can do this, and this is how we can solve it. By the way, the commands I've used here is not bash specific, so it's got to work on all POSIX compliant shells running on Linux. All right, then. So I'll see you in a future. I'll see you in the next video talking about some more interesting features on the Linux command line. Hope you found this video useful. Yeah, do stay tuned. Thank you.